Good morning, and welcome to 365 Days of Stories with Theo Mayer. Today, I think it's day 31. It's crazy. Okay, the story I'm going to share with you today is the story of two men and a carpenter. Well, this story starts off when our two men were but very, very young people, babies. Their parents were very good friends with each other, and these two young boys were born just days apart. And because the parents of each one of the boys were such good friends, they spent a lot of time with each other. And they lived just a few houses away in a pretty rural area in a town not so far from here. And as those babies grew older, it was really almost as if they were brothers. And they played together, and if, the parents of one of the boys were occupied doing something in a day, well, they dropped it off with the other parents, and they flip-flopped back and forth and taking care of those boys. And the boys just grew ever more close as time went on. And, each year that passed, they were together. And it was to the point where if people didn't know their family history, they thought the two boys were brothers. Well, as they got older, they shared things with each other. Whatever one had was basically fair game for the other one to use and have as well. There wasn't a lot of distinction or boundaries between the two. And they talked about how when they were older, they were going to have farms, and they were going to have farms that were next to each other. Because, as often happens with people that spend a lot of time in the out of doors as they're growing up, as these two boys did, they didn't want to do anything that required them being inside. They just wanted to spend their time outside, where things seemed the most real and the most beautiful and the most adventurous and the most exciting. So, they, in fact, as they grew older, set their sights on some countryside that was close to where they had grown up. And as they got older and they saved their money from working, they put together enough to purchase a fairly large piece of property, which they could split between the two of them, and each have their separate farm. Now, I will tell you that, of course, they were industrious, creative, energetic, handsome, strong young men, and they got married and they started families of their own, and they helped each other out with everything. They raised cows. They had horses to do whatever work that needed to be done, either plowing fields or riding off and inspecting fences, bringing in cows, bringing in bulls, whatever needed to be done. They had sheep. And yes, the horses were used to bring the sheep in as well. And you might go, oh, well, this isn't just a farm. This must be a ranch. And yeah, maybe it was. It was big. They had a big place, or big places. And again, there wasn't a lot of boundaries or division between the two. They basically treated everything as if it was communal, really, and they, shared in the profits of all the work that they did together. Machinery was shared, putting up hay, they did it together. They worked as a team. And their families, as they, grew, were very close as well. Now, one of these men had a special interest in creating better livestock through selective breeding. And at one point in time, one of his cows, who he had specially bred, was giving birth to a calf. And the calf that was born was just incredible. It was this kind of fawn-colored, kind of beige colored. And he was just so excited that, this calf had been born, and he had great hopes that, his project of creating a better line of livestock was going to take place. And it turned out that as this calf was born, the two men were there, which they often were during calving. They would ride along on horseback, where all the pregnant cows were being kept, and they would make sure that everything went well, because in birthing livestock, you never actually know if everything's going to turn out right. Ideally, front hooves and head come out together, and they're kind of laying next to each other in one way or another, and that way it's easy for the calf to be born. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes they come out backwards, or just the feet come out, or just the head, and then you've got a problem where the calf ends up getting stuck, and the cow needs help in birthing that animal. And every little life is precious, especially, on a small, farm or ranch. So these two men really took seriously calving time. The two of them had been out riding the day that this cow was giving birth, and so they were there the whole time that the cow was giving birth. They were there when the calf appeared, and they were awestruck by the beauty of it. And the one man says, "Oh my, look at how beautiful this young calf is. I have some real plans for it. This is what I've been waiting for. I'm really gonna make great use of it as it grows." And the other man, he was like, "Wait, your calf? I think this is my calf. I mean, that's my cow." And so certainly it's like, this is not your decision, but my decision, what happens with this calf. And the other man looks at his almost like brother and goes like, "Wait, what? Wait, that's, I don't think that's your cow. That's my cow. And I was the one that set up the whole breeding for this. That's my calf." Oh my gosh. Talk about an argument. It started and did not stop. And by the time evening was coming on, those two men were red-faced and stomping off in either direction to their own places. Years and years of goodwill and working together and brotherhood and camaraderie, it was all gone like that. They stomped into their own houses and just fumed. And, their wives, children came up to them, and, they didn't want to have anything to do with anybody, anything, nothing. They didn't even want to have anything to do with themselves, because they were feeling things that it was uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable in their own bodies, feeling the frustration and rage that they were feeling like they'd never felt before. Well, they sat there and brooded. Neither one of them ate their dinner. Neither one of them went to bed that night and slept in a bed, but instead, they sat, each one of them, in their living rooms and their chairs that they usually sat in, and just thought. And they thought. And they thought. Well, tomorrow I'm going to let you know what they thought about and what happened in the morning when daybreak came, and what actions were initiated as a result of that. Okay. Two Men and a Carpenter, part 2 tomorrow. Hope you join. Have a good rest of your day.